everybody. This is Sharon, and today we'll be talking with my sister Marilu about her passion, paddling. Today we'll be talking with my sister Marilu. Her passion is paddling. She lives in Hawaii, on the island of Maui, and she was introduced to paddling by her husband Paul. I sat down with her recently to interview her about her passion, so let's listen in. Hey Marilu, thanks
Hi,
for joining me today.
of course. Good morning.
Good morning. Today we're talking about one of your passions, and that is paddling. I was wondering if you can share with us a little bit about paddling. How did you become interested in paddling?
Well, of course, because of Paul, my husband. Being back on the islands. Well, actually, I take that back. When we were here, of course, we started kayaking in plastic kayaks, and we would snorkel off of them and go all over the island, etc. And then it kind of morphed to other types of paddling. But because of Paul, he's a waterman. He boat captains and scuba dives.
So that's how you got involved.
Yeah.
Can you tell us
I'm
a little
not really a water person to start with, because we grew up in the middle of a farm, so I'm not really close to water.
So can you tell us a little bit more about paddling and what's it like there in Maui?
Well, I mean, like I said, we started out paddling kayaks. They were ocean kayaks where they're plastic and they're super stable. And so we would surf and would paddle them to different parts of the island. It was cool because we'd get up early in the morning and we'd be on the water by dawn, and we'd go and snorkel, and then we'd be done by 10 o'clock and then have breakfast. And so we could just go wherever the conditions were really great, which is really nice about our island, because different parts of it have different conditions. So then we would do, like when we moved to Portland, we did whitewater rafting. We only did that one time because it was really hard to get to, as far away. But we loved it. It was so much fun and so challenging. And then moving back, we joined club, which is OC6, Outrigger Canoeing. And so that's what we've been doing mostly. And then that morphed to getting one man's, which is a smaller kayak, which has an ama, and then you paddle it alone. And then we also bought a two-man. So now that's what we do primarily, because we can do it together. And yeah, it's something we can do together, which is really important.
Oh, that's fun. So you got a new boat.
Yeah, we got a Gemini too, which is I think it's all, I don't know, carbon fiber. And so you have two seating positions, and then you can steer from the front or the back. But because Paul has more experience, he steers. So at some point I'll learn to steer that boat, because obviously I've steered the one man's, but it's such a big boat. It takes a lot of knowledge, and he's got a lot of ocean knowledge. So I'm really more comfortable with him doing it.
So what is about this passion that you like so much?
Well, I think for me, again, because I'm not initially a water person, it's a challenge and it takes me out of my comfort zone. But at the same time, like I said, it's a chance for Paul and I to do things together. And even when we're doing club paddling, we're still together, even though we're not in the same boat. So we're both doing the same activity, kind of the same schedule. And it's a real joining teamwork type of thing with other people and with Paul. And then it's also really a challenging thing for myself to get myself out of my comfort zone. Also, because it allows me to set personal goals as well. And then also to have that camaraderie with other people, or meeting other people too. It's amazing to meet other people.
Yeah. So you recently went on a race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go as planned. Well, so it's been really interesting with COVID, because we haven't had any regattas for 2 years, I want to say. And so since I think 2019, is 2019 was the last regatta season. And so everybody kind of has been on the back burner. One of my crews was practicing all the time, but I couldn't because I work in health industry. So I had to be super cautious of my patients because we have high risk patients. And so I wasn't paddling with them, but Paul and I would do 2-man. And so there's something called the World Sprints that happens. And this year it's happening in London. And I wasn't going to go because initially I wanted to do other traveling when I could. And because I hadn't been paddling with them, I didn't feel like I was really ready for it. But one of my friends who was a coach of mine asked me if I would go because we were out 2-man paddling, and she was out there. She said, "Oh, do you want to go to World Sprints?" I said, "I'm not going to go." "Well, I'm going to go." I said, "Well, if you're going to go, then I'm going to go." So then I asked the coach, I said, I know I have been paddling with you. Do I have a chance? And he said, "Well, you have to really test." And so I tested on the concept to erg, and I did pretty good. And he says, "Yeah, you can be on the team." So we ended up training 3 days a week since, gosh, I want to say December is when I jumped in. And then we had World Sprints qualifying on Oahu the 26th of February, and we missed qualifying by 0.3 of a second.
Oh no.
So they take the top 6 in Hawaii to go to London, and we didn't qualify. But my team may still go, but I opted not to because I wanted to focus on regatta season and maybe a long distance race. So it's a little bittersweet, but we didn't. A lot of the other teams have been paddling together forever, and so our team was just one that has been paddling together probably since they started practicing a year ago or so, and then I just jumped in. Me and the other person jumped in December, so it kind of was, a mixed pot of people as opposed to people who've been paddling all season for years with each other. Makes a difference.
Makes a difference. Is there a big paddling scene in Maui?
Huge, because it's our culture. The Polynesians and the Hawaiians have been doing paddling in some kind of form, whether it's in canoes or they have voyaging where it's called the hokalea, where they would navigate with the stars with a big outrigger sailing canoe. So it's part of the culture. And so that's the other thing that's really beautiful about it is you learn so much. Being born and raised there, I learned so much because so many people have been paddling since they were kids and paddling together since they were kids. So it's really fascinating to do it here and to learn when we go to different islands, learn different things.
So how would you encourage somebody else to pursue this passion or this interest?
Well, I would just say get in a boat. Get in a boat. First, do you swim? That's the first question, because a lot of people want to go, but they don't swim. So it's like, well,
swim? Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's one of the questions on the registration for our club. Do you swim? And there are people who don't swim, so they'll go out, but then they get the understanding that you have to know how to swim, because if you hula your boat, if your boat tips over, you have to be able to get in the boat. You might not be in a safe area. So yes, I would ask them if they could swim, and then I would just encourage them to get in any kind of boat. I think I've taken you out on a plastic kayak, and then my family, family from Sweden, they went out in our outrigger canoe because we have a recreational club on weekends, and so they take anybody out. And then we also went out with a hotel canoe one time. So to get a chance to get in anyway, or even to borrow a boat, like we would let anybody get in any of our boats. So try it. And then at some point, if you like it, learn which one you like the most. I think it's great to be able to have a 1-man, 2-man, because you can do it whenever, as opposed to 6-man, you have to go with everybody or more people.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your passion of paddling. And you're going to share some photos.
I will. I'll send those over to you later, but thank you very much for extending to me. It was fun.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you like this discussion, give it a thumbs up. If you want to hear more like it, subscribe and turn on your notification. Thanks for joining me today.